Tim, welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Ebel 1911 BTR Chronograph. You can see this automatic winding manufacture movement Ebel 1911 BTR and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full listing for this watch with additional high resolution images, accessories included, and naturally full pricing details. Now, Ebel first coined the 1911 shape back in 1977 with a watch then known as the Sport Classic, created by the second scion of the founding family of Ebel, Pierre Alain Blum. The watch had the essential shape of the Gerald Genta era 1970s integrated bezel, bracelet, strap, case watches, but it was also a little bit more ornate, a little bit more, you might even say, sensuous and organic in its form. It didn't have the hard edges of the Genta watches. That watch in the mid-1980s became the 911, and in 2006 the 911 BTR sport-oriented line launched with, again, those essential lines, but in an entirely different size and sensibility for a new era of watch enthusiasts. So the watch you see on my wrist is 44.5 millimeters across what would conventionally be considered the round of the case, not including the crown guards, or pushers. The watch is reasonably thin, in fact, 13.5 millimeters thick with a nicely sloped case flank and a conical bezel. This watch is surprisingly compatible with a tight sleeve or dress cuff, and from lug to lug, it's downright compact, only 48.5 millimeters from lug to lug. This watch is far tighter than most 45 millimeter watches, which can be as large as 55 millimeters from lug to lug. So if you can wear a 40 millimeter Rolex, you can wear this 44.5 millimeter BTR. Now on the wrist it has good heft. It does feel like a premium product. Don't be fooled by the carbon fiber. This isn't one of those lightweight watches that has the look of a premium watch, but will disappoint those who don't like the look of steel, who don't like the look of metal in conjunction with the exceedingly light feel of titanium. This watch has a solid steel case and a fairly ornate one at that, with impressive compound curves, a combination of polish and satin finish, and the satin executed, again, on those sensuous compound curves. It's an unusual way to see a watch finished, but it's beautifully executed. And you'll also note that the strap does conform to the flanks of the case. It does fill the gap. There is no daylight for a very integrated look, again, in the style of that era of Genta-influenced watches that spawned the basic shape. But you'll also note that I had no problem fitting it on my wrist. My wrist, 16 centimeters. I think you could wear this watch down to 14.5 centimeters in circumference with total security and style. You'll also note that the strap is very substantial, nicely bolstered. It features a contrasting stitch, a very dark brown rectangular scale alligator leather, soft calfskin on the underside. You'll also note the size and substance of this Ebel clasp. Now, it's clever on two fronts. First, it tucks any excess underneath the clasp body when it's buckled down, so there's no messy excess strap from the opposite side. But not only does it tuck in the excess, eliminating the need for strap minder loops, but it allows you to get away with an entirely unperforated strap, such that the strap, not featuring small drillings, will age longer because it doesn't have those individual holes to become gouged and weathered. So again, a clean look, but also an enduring look, something that'll give you good value and longevity from your strap. Now, the dial of the watch is quite exceptional in a couple of ways. First, the carbon fiber is beautifully integrated. There are some watches on which carbon fiber appears to be contrived and inorganic to the design. Here, given the technical aesthetic of the BTR, it actually seems right at home. It's actually a perfect application, and in a chronograph, the ultimate sportsman's complication, again, it's a perfect match. Now you have all applied indices, all applied and polished, fully loomed. The dial is legible in low or no light. It features a very discreet date window that you can see down at 4:30, so it's there when you want it. It's pretty invisible when you don't, so it's only there when you need it. It doesn't mar the aesthetic or the balance of the dial. Now, Ebel does an interesting job setting apart the chronograph functions on smaller sub-registers at 3 o'clock and 6, so you can easily distinguish seconds at center on the lancet seconds hand, and again, the smaller chronograph sub-registers easily distinguishable from constant seconds at 9 o'clock. There are small refinements that really set this watch apart, such as a discrete tachymetric scale. You can see the Rayhaut outboard of the center dial. Also note the Ebel marquee and logo applied and polished at 12 o'clock. It's upscale, it's attractive, and it speaks to the level of attention to detail that went into this deceptively sweet, complex, and refined watch. When I say it's deceptively sweet, complex, and refined, note, it's both a chronometer and a manufacture movement. Now, during the 1990s, when Ebel was weaning itself off of the El Primero, realizing that the supply of that vaunted chronograph caliber wouldn't last forever, it actually purchased the rights to use the Lamagna 1350 and develop it as its own movement. The result was the caliber 137 that you see here. Engineered, built, and finished entirely in-house by Ebel. It's a highly upgraded Lamagna 1350, and what you're getting essentially is a bidirectional winding system entirely of Ebel's own design. Why is that significant? Because they didn't like the feel of a unidirectional winder on the wrist. That can wobble when it's moving in the unweighted, unloaded direction, and Ebel, like Rolex and Audemars Piguet, decided that while unidirectional winding might be a little bit more efficient, it feels unrefined in a luxury product, so they engineered it out. They also dramatically upgraded the level of finish. And if you've ever seen an Ebauche version of a Lamagna caliber, an ETA caliber, a Unitas or Valjoux caliber, you realize just how fine is the standard of finish here. There are chamfered spokes to the reversing wheels. There are beautiful elements of articulation across the winding rotor, which features Ebel's signature engineer's calipers. All of the wheels, the bridges, and the plates have been beautifully decorated to a standard that really punches above the weight and class of this watch. Now, it's also important to note that there's something underneath that is entirely factory, but could be mistaken for initials or engraving. Note the MR right under the lug. That's not a sign of personalization or alteration of the watch. This was actually done by Ebel because the company, owned by Investcorp during the 90s, was sold to LVMH in 1999, and then in 2004 sold again to the American Movado Group, which retailed Ebel watches through its own stores. So those Ebel watches that were sold through Movado dealers were often engraved MR for Movado Retail underneath the lug. So again, not a personalization, not a modification by a third party. That's factory, as is the rest of the watch, in outstanding condition. And again, to top all off, 100-meter water resistance and a chronometer certificate. This is an exceptionally refined watch. You can see this Ebel 1911 BTR Chronograph chronometer and purchase it on our website.